channel called exaMnorM. So this is a one-stop solution for all the regulatory bodies exam, and I welcome you all in the next session. We call it as Finance Norm, in which today we are going to cover the finance related current affairs from 26th to 28th of February. So we can say that technically this is the last class for the month of February, and today we will be discussing a very important publication of RBI, that is BSR. So we will be talking about BSR 1, BSR 2, and even we'll discuss one of the latest appointment related to the financial sector. So before I start with the discussion, may I have a reply that everything is audible, everything is fine, audible, visible, all good? If everything is good, just give me a thumbs up so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. If you haven't shared the link of this session, then I would request you quickly copy the link of this session, share it with your friends so that more and more students, they can join us live and they can get to know that yes, the session is live where 26th to 28th of February news is going to be covered. Are we good to go, guys? Shall we begin? If you haven't shared the link of this session yet, I would request you quickly share the link so that everybody should be aware that yes, the session is live. I'm just waiting for your go ahead. The moment you'll say that sir, all set, we'll start the discussion. First, we'll solve the questions related to the previous session. जो previous session में हमने questions देखे थे या news देखी थी, जो the questions which I have given you as a homework, first we'll solve them. After solving those questions, then we will be moving ahead. Got it, guys? Chalo. Without any further delay, let's get started with the discussion. So here we go with the first question of the evening from the previous session. The question is related to capital market exposure with respect to the commercial bank. So consider the following statement regarding the loans against eligible securities under the new RBI capital market exposure. As I told you in the previous session, that is loan to value ratio. We have discussed that point in much detail in the previous session. So loan to value ratio was discussed. Now we have the direct points which can be asked. So in case of equity shares, the loan to value ratio is 60%. That is correct. Loan to value ratio in case of AAA rated debt security is 85%. That is correct. But if the rating is AA to BBB, in that particular case, it will be 75%. Remember that. And below BBB rating, debt instruments cannot be used as a collateral to borrow the loan. Cannot be used as a collateral to borrow the loan. I hope we know that. Moving on to the next point. Retail individuals can avail loan up to 1 crore against eligible securities. If you and me wants to borrow a loan, we can borrow a loan up to what value? So we can borrow a loan up to 1 crore. That is correct. Loans for IPO subscription is allowed up to 25 lakhs subject to the minimum margin of 25%. Minimum margin of 25% मतलब अगर आपको लोन चाहिए 30 lakhs का, तो out of 30 lakhs 25% should come from the pocket of the borrower and rest 75% will come from the pocket of the bank as a loan. Banks are permitted to grant loans against partly paid shares and shares under lock-in period if adequate margin is maintained. Banks are permitted to grant loan against partly paid shares? No sir. Against lock-in, against the shares which are in lock-in? No sir. So in दोनों के केस में bank is not allowed to provide a loan. So answer is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth statement is wrong. Next question. With reference to RBI's norms on the exposure to capital market intermediaries. Now we are talking about intermediaries. All bank credit exposure to capital market intermediaries are treated as the capital market exposure. बिल्कुल sir. चाहे आपने loan individual को दिया, whether you are giving a loan to individual or maybe to a entity for the acquisition purpose, or you are giving loan to a capital market intermediary, it will be calculated, it will be included under the capital market exposure only. That is correct. Banks are permitted to finance proprietary trading activities of CMI under secured agreements. No sir, this is wrong. This is wrong. Banks are permitted to finance proprietary trading activities of CMI under secured agreements. तो अगर हम इसकी बात करें, if you are borrowing a loan for proprietary trading, in that particular case, there has been a limit. Limit is what should be the collaterals, or 100% should be the collateral, out of which 50% should be in the form of cash. Guarantees issued for margin obligation requires at least 50% collateral in cash. तो जो हम बात करते हैं गारंटी की, अगर गारंटी इशू की गई है, इन केस ऑफ गारंटी विच हैज बीन इशूड बाय द बैंक to a borrower, and if the borrower is capital market intermediary and the borrowing is done for their proprietary trading, in that particular case 50% should be collateral in the form of cash. That is correct. Loan to CMI must generally be 100% secured except in specified intraday. That is also correct. Exposure to CMI is exempted from the large exposure framework. No sir, this is wrong. CMI exposure is also added under the large exposure framework only. So the answer to this particular question would be 1, 3 and 4 are the correct answers. 1, 3 and 4 are the correct answers for the given question. Got it guys? Clear? So you can even check out the solutions which I have given. So these were the two questions from the previous session. I hope you all have solved it. उसके अलावा पिछले सेशन से भी मैंने 2-3 questions आपको होमवर्क फॉर्मेट में दिए थे. I hope you must have solved those as well. If we are all set, we are good to go. Just give me yes sir, so that we can begin the discussion. For today's session. और आज का जो सेशन है बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. इसमें बहुत सारा डेटा है, बट उस डेटा को मैंने बहुत ज्यादा कंसाइज किया. I have filtered out the data in such a manner that I will be giving you point to point information which is very relevant for your examination point of view. So first of all, we are going to start. RBI has recently released a report which we call it as BSR, and RBI releases 2 reports. One is BSR 1, other one is BSR 2. हर बार RBI के एग्जामिनेशन में यहां से क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है, and it is a report which is published on quarterly basis. अब क्वेश्चन ये है कि सर, if we are talking about the report which has been published by RBI, then we must be talking or we must discuss what are the announcements which have been done by RBI under the BSR 1 report as well as BSR 2 report. But before answering this question, I would obviously like to discuss first what actually this BSR is. Please pay attention. BSR basically stands for Basic Statistical Return. Basic Statistical Return. कोई पूछे है क्या? Basic Statistical Return is basically a report which is published by RBI, and this Basic Statistical Return talks about the bank's current structure with respect to the credit service which is provided by the bank as well as the deposit facility which is provided by the bank. Now, in case of Basic Statistical Return, RBI is not providing a macro level view of bank's credit and deposit. Rather, the data is collected from every scheduled commercial bank, and data of each and every account is collected to present this report, and this report is more of micro level rather than macro level. And in this particular report, we witness that with respect to credit, with respect to deposit, many important informations, many important areas are being shared by RBI. ठीक है जी. तो अब क्या क्या चीजें वो ध्यान से देखना. पहला, सर, दिस पर्टिकुलर रिपोर्ट इट कंस्टिट्यूट्स रिच डेटा सेट्स within India's financial statistical system designed to capture structural, sectoral, geographical, pricing dimensions of banking activities. कि भैया ये जो रिपोर्ट है, it is not very simple report. It talks a lot. It discuss a lot. It discuss about the structural, sectoral, geographical and pricing dimensions of the banking activity. कि सर बैंकिंग की जो भी एक्टिविटीज है, उन एक्टिविटीज से रिलेटेड स्ट्रक्चरल एस्पेक्ट्स क्या है, कि किस सेक्टर को या किस एरिया में, फॉर एग्जांपल मेट्रो सिटी में लोन ज्यादा दिया है या फिर डिपॉजिट मेट्रो सिटीज का ज्यादा है या नहीं. सेक्टोरल फॉर्मेट में अगर हम बात करें, डिपॉजिट एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर से ज्यादा है या फिर डिपॉजिट इंडस्ट्रियल सेक्टर से ज्यादा है. व्हाट इज द प्राइसिंग फॉर्मेट, कि कितना प्राइसिंग स्ट्रक्चर है फॉर डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट्स. तो इसके बारे में बहुत क्लियरली, बहुत डिटेल में इस रिपोर्ट में बताया जाता है. दिस रिपोर्ट बेसिकली ऑपरेट्स एट अ माइक्रो डेटा लेवल इन टर्म्स ऑफ कलेक्शन ऑफ डेटा. ये जो रिपोर्ट है, इट इज अ माइक्रो डेटा लेवल रिपोर्ट, not only in terms of presentation of the data, not only in terms of presentation of the report, but also in terms of the collection of the data. तो micro level पे data collect किया जाता from the banks, and after collecting the data at that micro level, that data is reviewed. Once the data is reviewed, then final decision, or I would say the final report, is basically published by RBI. This enables the policy makers. What is the benefit? कि भैया RBI इतनी मेहनत क्यों कर रहा है? सर इसका फायदा RBI को भी है और RBI के साथ साथ बाकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को भी है. क्यों? अगर आपको डेटा मिल गया, it will be very easy for you to take a decision. So it gives deep insights into the financial intermediation, credit allocation, deposit behavior, as well as monetary transmission mechanism, which is very helpful not only for RBI but for almost all the financial institutes operating in India. BSR कोई आज की रिपोर्ट नहीं है. It was introduced back in 1970s after the bank nationalization. क्यों इसे इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया? सर, at that particular moment there was a need of this particular report because the analysis or the very close वॉच आउट ऑफ द बैंक ऑपरेशन वॉज वेरी मच रिक्वायर्ड. क्योंकि नेशनलाइजेशन की अगर हम बात करें 1969, फॉर द वेरी फर्स्ट टाइम 14 banks were nationalized, means private banks were overtaken by government of India, maybe with or without consent of the owner, and 14 banks were nationalized in 1969. In 1986, more banks were nationalized, and the agenda behind nationalization was public interest. So government has nationalized the banks and government wants to analyze that what is the impact of nationalization. Will it be possible to make banking services mass oriented services or not? So in order to check the day-to-day operations of the banking sector, in order to very closely observe the upliftments, the developments in the banking sector, this report or this basic statistical return publication was introduced. So it was emphasized because of introduction of priority sector lending. अगर आपको याद हो 1971-72 में priority sector lending को introduce किया गया. उसका close observation बहुत important था. Financial inclusion and rural credit expansion was going on. Monitoring sectoral development of bank resources was some of the aspects which required the introduction or which required the regular checkups of the banking sector. So at that time, banking data was insufficient to evaluate whether the credit was actually reaching the targeted sectors such as agriculture, small industries and weaker sections or not. And that is the reason you have inadequate data, and that is the reason BSR was born, and BSR came up with the data which has given support to the monetary policy formulation, financial stability assessment, banking supervision as well as academic and policy research. क्लियर हुई बात? तो मोटी मोटी बात क्या है सर? मोटी मोटी कहानी बस इतनी सी है कि आरबीआई की एक रिपोर्ट है, आरबीआई का एक पब्लिकेशन है, वी कॉल इट एज BSR, which stands for Basic Statistical Return. So this is basically combination of two reports. One is BSR1, other one is BSR2, where the data is collected from all the scheduled commercial bank except rural banks regarding the lending done by the banks, regarding the deposits accepted by the bank, regarding the credit growth of the banks, regarding the deposit growth of the bank, regarding which sector is holding maximum borrowing from the bank, which section of society is holding maximum deposit with the banks. So all these insights are given with the help of this particular publication, and this publication is presented on quarterly basis. This publication is presented on quarterly basis. तो इसके दो हिस्से हैं, इसके दो पार्ट्स हैं. पहले पार्ट पे बात करते हैं. पहला पार्ट क्या है? BSR1, which talks about the credit, the loan given by the bank. So it basically collects the data from the scheduled commercial bank, and the collected data is classified. The data is classified as per the borrower. So borrower is further classified as per their occupation or their activity, whether they are involved in agriculture, industry or service sector. Then they are further categorized with respect to the organization type, that whether you are running your business individually, whether you have a partnership deed, or you are a government company or maybe a private company. So that classification will be done. After this classification, the next point is loan characteristics. So in this particular report, we get to know about the loan characteristics, that what are the types of account. Cash credit account means whether you are holding a overdraft account, term loan, or maybe cash credit account, or maybe demand loan. So what type of loan is it? What is the size of loan? What is the interest rate on an average paid by the borrowers? Whether the loans are secured or unsecured. This information is also shared under the same report. Next is geographical classifications: rural, semi-urban, urban and metropolitan. These are the four categories in which the geography is divided, and it says कि भैया सबसे ज्यादा लोन कौन से रीजन ने लिया, दैट इज ऑल्सो प्रेजेंटेड इन द रिपोर्ट एंड इवन इट डिस्कस स्टेट वाइज, डिस्ट्रिक्ट वाइज एज वेल एज द सेंट्रल लेवल डेटा। अब आप देख रहे हो कितना डेप्थ में जाके दिस डेटा इज प्रेजेंटेड एंड ऑब्वियसली वी विल नॉट बी गोइंग इन दिस मच डेप्थ while covering the data, क्योंकि वो डेटा हम उतना ही पढ़ेंगे जितना हमारे एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इंपॉर्टेंट है. सो डोंट वरी, आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग माई लेवल बेस्ट टू एक्सप्लेन यू द थिंग्स बेटर, बट once the things are clear, I won't be once the things are clear, I won't be discussing the, I would say, useless or I would say least expected data with respect to our examination. तो उतना ही पढ़ेंगे जो एग्जामिनेशन में पूछा जा सकता है, उसके अलावा कोई और बात नहीं करेंगे. Remember that. Moving on to the next point. Sir, why this report is crucial? Why this data is crucial? So this data is very important. Why it is important? So it helps us to understand what is the status of sectoral credit flow. कि कौन से सेक्टर में कितना क्रेडिट फ्लो है. It helps us in monitoring the priority sector lending compliances. It helps us in evaluating credit concentration and diversification, and even it helps us to study the interest rate transmission with the help of weighted average lending rate. Don't worry, I'll discuss what is this weighted average lending rate in this news only. Give me some time. Second part of this report, or the second report, is BSR2, which talks about deposit data. It helps us to understand what are the current deposits, how many deposits out of the total are saving deposits, term deposit, what is the ownership pattern, household, government, corporates, what is the geographic features, age wise distribution. एज वाइज मतलब सीनियर सिटीजन के पास कितने अकाउंट्स हैं. डेमोग्राफिक के बाद वी हैव जेंडर वाइज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन एज वेल, कि सीनियर सिटीजन के पास, विमेन के पास कितना परसेंटेज ऑफ टोटल डिपॉजिट है. देन विल टॉक अबाउट द मैच्योरिटी स्ट्रक्चर, कि शॉर्ट टर्म डिपॉजिट्स कौन से विच आर गोइंग टू मैच्योर इन नेक्स्ट 1 year. Then we have long term deposits and even we'll talk about the interest rate distribution, कि भैया टर्म डिपॉजिट्स के ऊपर कितना इंटरेस्ट रेट है, 7% से ज्यादा कितने परसेंटेज अकाउंट्स हैं जिन पे 7% से ज्यादा टर्म डिपॉजिट है. वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग ऑल दीज एस्पेक्ट्स. क्यों बेनिफिशियल है? सर, इट विल हेल्प अस टू अंडरस्टैंड द सेविंग बिहेवियर इन द इकोनॉमी. इट विल हेल्प अस टू एनालाइज deposit mobilization trends, evaluate cost of funds for banks, and even it will help us while checking out कि भैया ये जो मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी है उसका ट्रांसमिशन हुआ या नहीं. मतलब अगर आरबीआई ने मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी रेट्स को रिवाइज किया, फॉर एग्जांपल आरबीआई अगर रेपो रेट को कम करता तो उसका रिफ्लेक्शन आरबीआई ने अगर रेपो रेट को कम किया तो उसका रिफ्लेक्शन डिपॉजिट पे भी आएगा और उसके साथ साथ लेंडिंग पे भी आएगा. और उसी को देखना कि क्या डिपॉजिट पे वो रिफ्लेक्शन आया है या नहीं, उसको चेक किया जाएगा विद द हेल्प ऑफ व्हाट? सर, इट विल बी checked with the help of the same information which we are talking about, that is BSR. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गई बात, समझ आ गया पॉइंट. अब अगली दो इंपॉर्टेंट एरियाज है इसी रिपोर्ट का. पहला एरिया है कि सर ये जो BSR है, बेसिक स्टैटिस्टिकल रिटर्न्स जो है, सर व्हाई दे आर इंपॉर्टेंट. इफ आई टॉक अबाउट देयर इंपॉर्टेंस, sir, they strategic utility in the financial system. That means this information is used in the financial system while framing the monetary policy, while mapping the financial inclusion, while identifying the stability and risk monitoring. This information is very helpful in order to understand the scope gaps, in order to understand what is the temporary halt, in order to understand कि सर प्रॉब्लम क्या है, क्यों आपकी जो इंफॉर्मेशन है, क्यों आपकी जो इनिशिएटिव्स है, क्यों आपके जो स्कीम्स है, क्यों आपके जो गवर्नमेंट के इनिशिएटिव्स हैं वो एंड तक नहीं पहुंच पा रहे. उन सब के लिए जो आपको इनसाइट्स चाहिए, दोज इनसाइट्स विल बी प्रोवाइडेड विद द हेल्प ऑफ द सेम डॉक्यूमेंट, विद द हेल्प ऑफ द सेम पब्लिकेशन. ठीक है जी. अगला पॉइंट काफी ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. वो अगला पॉइंट ये है कि सर यू टॉक्ड अबाउट डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ रीजन्स. यू टॉक्ड अबाउट रूरल एरिया, then you talked about semi-urban, then you talked about urban, as well as you have used a word that is metro. So let's try to understand all of them. Please pay attention. Agli screen देखिएगा. The next screen will be clear to you. What does the next screen says? Sir, it talks about the data collection and the revision. Data collection and the revision वाले part में अगर हम देखें तो we have already discussed rural area means area with population less than 10,000. Semi-urban means 10,000 to 1 lakh. Urban means 1 lakh to 10 lakh. And if the population is greater than 10 lakh, it will be included as a metropolitan city or metro area. अगर हम बात करें सर द डेटा इज माइक्रो डेटा बिकॉज अकाउंट लेवल पे जाकर अकाउंट वाइज डेटा इज कलेक्टेड. Sir, interest rate distribution is checked, how the interest rate is distributed. We will also get to know about the average, weighted average lending rate with respect to the bank lending as well as borrowing. ठीक है जी. So now let's quickly discuss about each and every report one by one. So I'm starting with the first report. So please pay attention. We are talking about quarterly basic statistical return, that is BSR1. We are talking about BSR1. यहां तक क्लियर है ना? व्हाट इज बीएसआर, क्यों प्रेजेंट किया जाता है, व्हाट इज द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ बीएसआर? इफ एवरीथिंग इज क्लियर टिल दिस पॉइंट जस्ट गिव मी यस सर. इफ एवरीथिंग इज क्लियर टिल दिस पॉइंट जस्ट गिव मी यस सर. एक बार बता देते तो मैं आगे बढ़ जाऊंगा. हर्ष, यू विल गेट द अपडेट, डोंट वरी. द मोमेंट इंटरव्यूज विल स्टार्ट यू विल गेट द अपडेट, डोंट वरी. We have started collecting the data and we will be sharing the updates very soon. Don't worry. ठीक है जी. Any other doubt? Is it clear? चलो. Now let's move on and discuss all the aspects with respect to the same. So BSR1 की अगर हम बात करें तो BSR1 talks about what? So BSR1 जो है it talks about only one thing, that is the credit side, loan side. Credit side बोलो, loan side बोलो. So it basically talks about द लोन साइड. तो हमें अब यहाँ पे क्या क्या समझना होगा? सो पहले तो हमें ये समझना होगा कि क्रेडिट ग्रोथ कितना हुआ है. क्रेडिट ग्रोथ का मतलब कि पिछले साल के मुकाबले इस बार जो क्रेडिट दिया गया वो कितने पेस से इंक्रीज हुआ. सो एट मैक्रो लेवल, अगर मैं ब्रॉडर लेवल पे बात करूं, एट ब्रॉडर लेवल बैंक क्रेडिट ग्रोथ इंक्रीज्ड मार्जिनली to 12.2% in December 2025 from 11.8% in December 2024. So this is the first point. And the first important information which says the credit growth as per the latest report, the report which is presented with for data December 2025 says that the credit growth is 12.2%, which was 11.8% in the last year, that is December 2024. Now if I talk about the region wise, then अगर आप region wise बात करेंगे, in terms of region we have the first one, branches which are located in rural areas, semi-urban areas and urban areas, they have outpaced metropolitan branches in credit growth with their combined shares rising to 40.4% from 36.9%. मतलब ये कि अगर हम रूरल एरिया ब्रांचेस, सेमी अर्बन ब्रांचेस और अर्बन ब्रांचेस को मिला दें तो इन ब्रांचेस में जो क्रेडिट ग्रोथ हुआ दैट इज 40.4%. That is 40.4%, which is greater than the growth rate in the metropolitan branches. Metropolitan branches में जो credit growth है उससे ज्यादा credit growth कहाँ हुआ है? So the more credit growth has been witnessed in the other areas. अब question यहाँ पे ये बन सकता है क्यों? The question should be, so why metropolitan areas में we have startups, we have industries, we have many options, we have many things where we can expect increase in demand, where we can expect increase in demand for the loan. अगर ऐसी सिचुएशन है सर, अगर ऐसी सिचुएशन है तो ऐसी क्या प्रॉब्लम है कि मेट्रोपॉलिटन सिटी से ज्यादा जो क्रेडिट ग्रोथ है दैट हैज बीन विटनेस्ड इन दी रूरल, अर्बन एंड सेमी अर्बन एरियाज. इसका सबसे पहला रीजन जो मुझे समझ आता है सर दैट इज अवेयरनेस. पहले पब्लिक को अवेयरनेस नहीं थी. नाउ पब्लिक इज अवेयर in these areas, in these locations, so they are borrowing more, and if they are borrowing more, the credit growth is more. On the other side, if I talk about the metropolitan areas, I can even use a word which is not technically correct, but still I can use this term, that is कहीं ना कहीं एक saturation level आ गया. मान लो न्यू दिल्ली है, if I talk about Delhi, तो दिल्ली में नई इंडस्ट्री को सेटअप करना इज ऑलमोस्ट इम्पॉसिबल. दैट इज द रीजन वी गो टू द आउटस्कर्ट्स in order to set up the industry, because it's very difficult to set up now in Delhi as per the current scenarios. So पहला हो गया फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन. दूसरा रीजन है क्रेडिट एब्जॉर्प्शन कैपेसिटी ऑफ द rural, semi-urban and urban areas have increased. Priority sector lending and MSME financing in these areas is boosting the same. And the last part is saturation effect in the metropolitan cities, which is leading to this particular result. Got it, guys? Is this point clear? Moving on to the next point. The third point says, what is the region-wise credit distribution? Region-wise credit distribution, I have not given you the percentages, but you just remember this is because of what? So this is because of financial inclusion initiatives, credit absorption capacity, priority sector lending, and saturation effect in the metropolitan credit market, as I just said. अब पॉइंट आता है कि सर व्हाट इज द सिनेरियो ऑफ पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक. सर अगर हम बात करें पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक की, तो पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक हैज रिकॉर्डेड अ क्रेडिट ग्रोथ ऑफ 14.1%, greater than 14.1% greater than the overall credit growth of the scheduled commercial banks. तो overall credit growth of the scheduled commercial banks से ज्यादा जो growth है that has been recorded by the public sector banks. So you need to remember this data. This is important. Next point, before I go ahead, next point which I would like to discuss over here is कि sir why the credit growth has increased with the public sector banks. So the reason is public sector banks balance sheet has been repaired. Public sector banks NPAs have been reduced. Public sector bank has witnessed stronger engagement in the priority sector and government backed lending programs. Public sector bank is offering competitive lending rates, as well as public sector bank has improved their capital adequacy, which has increased their capacity to lend, because of which their credit growth is increasing, which is a good point, which is a notable point which you must remember. Fourth point है weighted average lending rate. Weighted average lending rate का मतलब क्या? एक बैंक है, फिर उस बैंक से आपने भी लोन लिया, मैंने भी लोन लिया, इंडस्ट्री ने भी लिया, फार्मर ने भी लिया, एक विमेन ने भी लिया, सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड ने भी लिया, एक सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप ने भी लिया. सो लेंडिंग इज गिवन टू different borrowers depending upon their different needs. The lending rates for each and every borrower will be different. अगर lending rate हर एक borrower के लिए different है, so we will calculate the weighted average lending rate. And how we calculate the weighted average lending rate, please pay attention. आपको समझाने के लिए बता रहा हूं, कोई पूछेगा नहीं एग्जाम में. मान लो दो कैटेगरीज है लोन की, एक एग्रीकल्चर लोन 40%, दूसरा इंडस्ट्रियल लोन ऑब्वियसली 60%. ठीक है. Lending rate for the agriculture loan is let's say 7% and lending rate for the industrial loan is let's say 9%. So what will be the weighted average? So weighted average is 7 into 40% plus 60 into 9%. तो इसको जब आप सॉल्व करेंगे you will get it 280% divided by 100 plus 60 into 90, that is 540 divided by 100, which means एक जगह आया 2.8%, फिर आया 5.4%. If you add it, you will get 8.2% as the weighted average. अगर आप इसका normal average निकालते हैं, that will be 7 plus 9 divided by 2, that comes out to be what? So that comes out to be 8. बट ये 8 नहीं होगा. क्यों नहीं होगा? क्योंकि सर वेटेज सेम नहीं है. इफ द वेटेज इज नॉट सेम, यू कैन नॉट टेक देम इक्वली, सो यू हैव टू इंक्लूड देयर वेटेज, एंड व्हेन यू इंक्लूड देयर वेटेज एंड कैलकुलेट द ओवरऑल रेट्स, वी कॉल इट एज वेटेड एवरेज लेंडिंग रेट. और ये जो वेटेड एवरेज लेंडिंग रेट है फॉर द क्रेडिट, इट हैज डिक्लाइंड significantly to 9.35%. What could be the reason that the credit rates or the lending rates of India has declined? So the reason is quite obvious. RBI, in order to counter the low inflation rates in the country, RBI has decreased the repo rate at a very high pace in the past few months, and due to this decrease, it has been recorded. Due to this decrease, it has been recorded that the lending rates are decreasing because of decrease in repo rate, and if the lending rates are decreasing because of repo rate, this means weighted average lending rate help us to understand the transmission of monetary policy as well. So it has reduced from 9.35 to 9.35%, which was earlier 10.19%. Therefore, it has decreased the borrowing cost for personal loans as well as industrial loans. Got it, guys? Clear till this point? Moving on to the next. Interest rate distribution, the share of loan with interest rate below 9% is 62.4%, which means majority lending in India is done at a rate less than 9%. Earlier, iska jo weightage tha or percentage tha, that was 42.2, but now it has increased to 62.4. Reason is bilkul simple hai. So the reason is overall lending rates of the bank has decreased because of decrease in repo rate and the other initiatives which have been taken by RBI to control the inflation rates. Next, we have the sectoral credit dynamics. We have witnessed increase in credit growth in agriculture sector, industrial sector and trading sector, but there is moderation in growth in transport operators, पर्सनल लोन्स, प्लीज इंपॉर्टेंट, पर्सनल लोन्स एंड प्रोफेशनल सर्विसेज, इन सब में से पर्सनल लोन पे जरूर बात करेंगे. सो इफ आई टॉक अबाउट द पर्सनल लोन्स, it has not recorded growth, rather it has recorded deceleration to 12.1% year on year growth. Last year ये year on year growth कितना था? 13.7%. So I'm not saying that growth has reduced. पिछली बार अगर 100 रुपए दिए थे लोन पे, तो इस बार 112.1 रुपए दिए लोन पे, 12% का ग्रोथ है. बट इससे पिछली बार जो ग्रोथ था दैट वाज 13.7%. सो दिस ग्रोथ रेट हैज डिक्रीज्ड. Personal loan is still growing, but growth rate has decreased. So this is something which you need to remember, that personal loan has witnessed a deceleration. What is the reason? So given that higher personal loans typically carry higher yield but also higher credit risk, so this moderation got to contribute to improved portfolio quality stability as well as reduced future provisioning pressures. इसका मतलब समझो, इसका मतलब ये है कि सर जो personal loans हैं, majority personal loans, they are unsecured. Undoubtedly, if they are unsecured, they will be attracting more lending rates. That is correct, but they are high in terms of return expectation, and they are high in terms of risk expectations as well. So because of this, personal loan is something which is not well promoted by the banks. And on the other side, because of this inflation scenario where the money supply flow is already high in the market, demand for personal loan has also decreased. Second is decrease in GST. That has decreased the demand for personal loan, as well as good monsoon and good agriculture produce in the previous financial year is again a reason जहां पे personal loan की demand उतनी तेजी से increase नहीं हुई जितनी पिछले साल हुई थी. Is it clear? Moving on to the next, if I talk about the corporate credit means credit to the private corporate sector. Private corporate sector, it has witnessed a growth of 9.6%, which was earlier 9%. तो थोड़ा सा increase हुआ from 9.6 to 9%. तो हमें क्या क्या चीजें conclude करनी है अपने दिमाग में related to BSR1. So BSR1 में सबसे पहला moderate but stable growth in aggregate credit, और aggregate credit में जो growth है that is around 12%. Geographical diversification of lending activity, where we have witnessed urban, semi-urban plus rural areas, credit growth has overpassed the credit growth in the metropolitan areas. It has improved pricing conditions due to monetary easing. So pricing condition means weighted average lending rate has decreased. Why it has decreased? So because of monetary policy transmission, because of repo rate cut which has been done by RBI in the past financial year. Shifting sectoral dynamics and borrower composition. So if I talk about the shifting sectoral dynamics and borrower composition, तो borrower composition भी change हो रहा है. कहीं ना कहीं personal loan के लिए जो demand है वो उतनी तेजी से नहीं बढ़ी, और sectoral shift भी देखा गया जहां पे more of the demand has been witnessed for industrial, for investment purposes rather than for the consumer or consumable purposes. So you must remember, monetary transmission, financial inclusion, banking sector health and risk consideration are the factors which has resulted in the current data for BSR1. क्लियर हो गई बात? समझ आ? एक बार सारी चीज को दोबारा से नजर मार लो, कोई डाउट है तो प्लीज पूछ लो. So we have talked about aggregate credit growth 12.2%. उसके बाद we talked about the reasons why region-wise credit distribution has witnessed. Public sector bank witnessed a growth of 14.1%. Weighted average lending rate has decreased from 10.19 to 9.35%. Interest rate or the lending or the loan with low lending rate below 9% has increased to 62.4%. 62.4%. Next point is BSR1 says we have witnessed increase in credit growth in agriculture, industry and trade, but there is a decrease in credit growth in terms of personal loan, professional services, transport operators, जिसमें सबसे important personal loan है. Growth rate is 12.1%. Last year it was 13.7%. Clear होगी बातें? समझ आ गया? Shall we move ahead? जल्दी start हो जाएंगी आदित्य, don't worry. जल्दी start हो जाएंगे and we will notify you once we will be starting these sessions. Don't worry. There will not be randomly conduct नहीं होगी. We will give you the entire प्लान कि किस दिन कितने बजे कौन सी क्लास कंडक्ट होगी, एंड यू कैन वॉच द सेशंस अकॉर्डिंगली. मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ द न्यूज. द नेक्स्ट पार्ट टॉक्स अबाउट BSR2. द नेक्स्ट पार्ट टॉक्स अबाउट BSR2. तो BSR2 में हम क्या बात कर रहे हैं? सेम सर, कमर्शियल बैंक्स, लेकिन उसमें क्या एक्सक्लूड कर रहे हैं? RRBs. सेम वाज द केस फॉर BSR1 एज वेल. इन केस ऑफ BSR2 वी get the data, or RBI collect the data with respect to types of deposit with the bank, sectoral ownership, household, government, corporate, demographic distribution, gender composition, maturity structure, size classification, interest rate bands, as well as the data across states, district and center is collected in this particular report and presented. तो BSR2 की अगर हम बात करें तो BSR2 में सबसे पहला जो पॉइंट आपको समझना है वो क्या? As of end December 2025, deposit with scheduled commercial bank has witnessed a growth of 10.5%. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है समझना. Credit growth is 12.2%. Deposit growth is 10.5%. दिखने में भले ये क्लोज लग रहे हैं, बट they are showcasing a very negative aspect of your economy. Why they are showcasing a very negative aspect of your economy? उसका रीजन है कि सर पिछली बार क्रेडिट ग्रोथ 11.8% था, डिपॉजिट ग्रोथ 11% था, तो इन दोनों में जो गैप था दैट वाज 0.8%. बट दिस टाइम डिपॉजिट ग्रोथ कम हुआ. क्यों डिपॉजिट ग्रोथ कम हुआ? सर ऑब्वियसली रादर देन डिपॉजिटिंग द फंड्स इन द बैंक, आई विल बी मेकिंग माय फंड्स, और आई विल बी यूजिंग माय फंड्स विद द पर्पस ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट. आई विल इन्वेस्ट देम इन द कैपिटल मार्केट, और मे बी आई विल इन्वेस्ट देम इन द मनी मार्केट, और मे बी आई इन्वेस्ट देम इन एनी कमोडिटी और ETF where I can expect more returns in comparison to the rate of interest which I am going to receive on the deposits. तो जब मुझे पता है कि बैंक में डिपॉजिट रख के भी मुझे ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट नहीं मिलेगा, and that interest can be easily, or that return can be easily earned as per the current market scenario, so I will not open up a deposit account, rather I will be parking my funds to earn more profit. If I see the gap, so this gap has widened from 0.8% to 1.7%, which is a point of worry. क्योंकि अगर ऐसा होता गया तो भैया बैंक के पास देखने को अगर हम समझे तो डिपॉजिट कम आ रहा है, लेकिन लोन जो बैंक से बाहर जा रहा है वो ज्यादा है. तो एक दिन ऐसा आएगा कि बैंक के पास डिपॉजिट कम है, लोन की डिमांड ज्यादा है, एंड बैंक विल नॉट बी एबल टू फुलफिल दिस डिमांड. बैंक विल नॉट बी एबल टू फुलफिल दिस डिमांड, एंड इवन इन ऑर्डर टू overcome the current scenario, bank is trying its level best to raise the funds through certificate of deposit. So this scenario, if it is not checked, if it is not controlled, it will lead to a very, I would say, tough situation for the banking sector, which is need to be addressed by RBI pretty early. तो इसका रिजल्ट एक ही होगा. क्या रिजल्ट होगा? सो अगर बैंक डिपॉजिट रेट्स कम कर रहा है, क्योंकि बैंक के पास अगर डिपॉजिट ही कम है तो बैंक या तो डिपॉजिट को अट्रैक्ट करने के लिए उनके ऊपर डिपॉजिट रेट्स को इंक्रीज करेगा, और अगर डिपॉजिट रेट्स इंक्रीज किए तो लेंडिंग रेट्स भी इंक्रीज हो जाएंगी. डिपॉजिट रेट्स को इंक्रीज किया तो बैंक इज एक्सपेक्टिंग दैट बैंक विल हैव मोर डिपॉजिट. विद मोर डिपॉजिट बैंक कैन हैव हायर लेंडिंग कैपेसिटी. बट इट इज वन वे अराउंड. अगर आप इसको देखो तो अच्छा लग रहा है, लेकिन दूसरी तरफ अगर आप देखो तो ये उतना अच्छा नहीं लग रहा. क्यों उतना अच्छा नहीं लग रहा? उससे क्या होगा? so, अगर आपने डिपॉजिट रेट बढ़ाया, बैंक के लेंडिंग रेट्स बढ़ गए, तो मार्केट में क्रेडिट कम हो गया, और अगर मार्केट में क्रेडिट कम होगा तो उसका रिजल्ट क्या? सब मार्केट में डिमांड कम, प्रोडक्शन कम, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट कम. सो इट इज नीड टू बी चेक्ड वेरी क्लोजली एंड वेरी, आई वुड से इट्स अ वेरी क्रूशियल एस्पेक्ट which is need to be checked with much attention, with much, I would say, precaution is need to be taken. So this trend suggests stabilization in deposit mobilization at a slightly softer pace compared to the previous year. Previous year 11% and this time 10.5%. Why this has been witnessed? So this is shift in household financial savings towards market linked instruments. कि भैया जो घर household आपके और मेरे deposits हैं, we are not depositing in the banks, we are investing our funds in the share market. Changing interest rate environment, consumption smoothing behavior. तो चेंजिंग इंटरेस्ट रेट एनवायरमेंट स्पेशली ड्यूरिंग द मॉनेटरी ईजिंग फेज, क्योंकि आज की डेट में रेपो रेट कम हुआ है. रेपो रेट अगर आरबीआई ने कम किया तो बैंक के लेंडिंग रेट्स कम हो गए. बैंक के लेंडिंग रेट्स कम हुए तो बैंक ने डिपॉजिट रेट कम कर दिए टू मेंटेन द सेम निम. in order to achieve the same net interest margin. तो अगर बैंक ने अपने डिपॉजिट रेट कम कर दिए तो आप और मैं will find some new avenue to park our funds because the returns on deposit has reduced. Consumption smoothing behavior in a post-pandemic recovery economy. So in the post-pandemic economy, consumption has smoothened. Consumption जो कि पहले बहुत harsh थी, बहुत high consumption थी, it has been smoothened over the period of time. That is the other reason. Second point आता है कि सर अगर आप regional aspect देखें तो regional aspect क्या कहता है? Rural, semi-urban and urban branches, they have recorded an improvement in deposit growth rate in comparison to the previous year, but metropolitan centers they lagged, which indicate relative decentralization of deposit accumulation. फिर से तीन reason. पहला, sir, in these areas, due to increase in financial inclusion, due to increase in financial information, financial literacy, more deposit is being done. Secondly, in case of metropolitan cities, individuals or the household who are saving their funds in the metropolitan cities, they are more close, they are more aware of the stock market, they are more aware of the market returns, so they will be pushing their funds into the market rather than in the bank. Third is saturation level has been reached in the metropolitan cities in comparison to rural, semi-urban or urban areas. If I compare the banks, public sector bank has recorded a growth of 9.9%, which is below the average credit growth, but public sector bank has recorded a growth of 11.3%. So public sector bank growth rate is 11.3%. Deposit growth rate, and private sector bank is 11.3, public sector bank is 9.9. Private sector में क्यों deposit growth rate ज़्यादा है? So just ask yourself, if you are working in a company, majority of you who are working in a company, maximum of you must be having an account which is offered by your employer, and your employer must have offered you an account in a private bank. Reason is private bank is giving more services. That is the reason private bank is attracting the customers, especially in case of deposit aspect, because of which the deposit growth rate is higher in comparison to the public sector banks. Next, we have deposit composition. The composition of deposit witnesses, please pay attention. Term deposit has witnessed a growth of 11.5%, current deposit 11.1%, and I would say the least growth rate has been recorded with the savings account. If I talk about the sectoral ownership, the household sector remains the backbone of deposits. 60.1% of the total deposit belongs to household. 60.1% of the total deposit belongs to household. If I talk about the female depositor share, so female depositor share has increased from 20.6 to 20.8%. Senior citizen shares have increased from 20.2 to 20.7%. एक point जो मैं लिख रहा हूँ, जो mark कर रहा हूँ, that is something which is important. Direct question examination में पूछा जाएगा. Maturity structure, term deposit with maturity 1 to 3 years is 70%, and term deposit with maturity up to 1 year is 19.5%, which is again a good sign. Interest rate is the share of term deposit offering interest rate below 7% is 56.3%. So if we have 56.3% of the term deposit which is offering today rate of interest less than 7%, क्यों? सर repo rate कम हुआ, lending rate कम हो गया, deposit rate कम हो गया, तो जो पहले 29.2% share of term deposit था below 7%, now it has increased to 56.3%, which you need to remember. If I talk about the deposit size, very important, deposits of 1 crore and above accounted 45.8% of total deposit, which was last year 45.5%, which means high degree of concentration in the large value deposits. Liquidity, volatility, as large deposits are more volatile to interest rate changes. So that is the reason if anything goes up and down with respect to interest rate, the deposits will have a more impact, or the deposit growth rate as well as the deposit value will have a more impact. Reason, अगर deposit का rate of interest बढ़ा तो 1 करोड़ से ज़्यादा के deposits बढ़ जाएंगे. अगर rate of interest कम हुआ तो 1 करोड़ के deposits कम हो जाएंगे. तो अगर कम होंगे जिसमें आपका majority hold है आपके पास, and अगर ये deposits कम हो रहे हैं तो it will result in overall decrease in the deposit value of the country. ठीक है. So how it is helpful? Sir, it will help us in liquidity assessment, monetary transmission, financial inclusion, credit deposit dynamics, and risk assessment. These are the benefits. These are the benefits of BSR 2. Easy है. मुझे लगता है कि इसमें कोई rocket science है. I'm pretty sure that this news is crystal clear to you. And if it is crystal clear, just give me yes, sir. If it is crystal clear, just give me yes, sir, so that we can move ahead. अगर news clear है and you want me to discuss few questions on the same news, just give me yes, sir. और अगर कोई doubt है तो please ask your doubt. If you have any doubt, you may ask, please. Otherwise, we will be solving few questions on the same news. बता दो जल्दी. I'm still waiting. Any doubt, anybody? और अगर आपको ये लग रहा है कि सर ये न्यूज़ कितनी इंपॉर्टेंट है, तो इसका इंपॉर्टेंस ये है कि हर बार एग्जामिनेशन में इस डेटा से न्यूज़ क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है. फर्स्ट थिंग. सेकंड इज, ये जो डेटा मैं आपको दे रहा हूँ, दिस डेटा विल हेल्प यू टू ऐड एश्योरेंस टू योर डिस्क्रिप्टिव आंसर्स. डिस्क्रिप्टिव आंसर्स के लिए दिस डेटा is going to play a really very important role. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind while reading the content for this particular news. ठीक है जी, clear हो गई बात, समझ आ गया? If it is clear, just give me yes sir, so that I can present the question to you which you will be solving. चलो, here you go guys. Here is the question. Read all the options and try to identify the correct answer. Guys, go through with all the options and try to I'm sorry. Anybody? Anybody who can give me the answer for the given question? Shall I solve it for you? चलो मैं आपके लिए solve करता हूँ. Question क्या कहता है देखना जरा. Consider the following statement regarding the deposit composition. A higher share of term deposit improves bank's ability to undertake maturity transformation. That is true. A rising share of large value deposit reduces liquidity risk for the bank. Yes, क्योंकि अगर आपके deposit बढ़े हैं तो बैंक के ऊपर liquidity risk जो है वो क्या होगा? कम होगा. बैंक का जो लिक्विडिटी रिस्क है वो कम होगा? नहीं सर, बैंक का लिक्विडिटी रिस्क बढ़ जाएगा, क्योंकि अगर आपके पास लार्ज डिपॉजिट्स हैं, व्हेनेवर दे विल बी विड्रॉइंग liquidity will decrease, whenever they will be depositing liquidity will increase, so liquidity risk will be high. Demand deposit are more suitable than term deposit during the period of monetary tightening. Monetary tightening का मतलब क्या? So monetary tightening का मतलब है RBI is increasing the repo rate. If RBI is increasing the repo rate, undoubtedly rate of interest will increase, FD rates will increase faster than that of deposit rates. So in that particular case, demand deposit will be more stable. No sir, term deposits will be more stable. Term deposits will be more stable during monetary tightening. Higher share of term deposit generally increase the predictability of bank's funding profile. This is true. अगर बैंक के पास ज़्यादा term deposit है, that means bank has a deposit which is less volatile, so this will undoubtedly increase the predictability of bank's funding. Concentration of deposit in large accounts can amplify funding volatility. That is true. So answer to this particular question will be, so 1, 4 and 5, A option is the correct answer. अगला question देखो. The next question says, consider the following statement. A sharp rise in deposits below 7% interest rate indicates effective monetary policy transmission. Sir, अगर हम कहें term deposit with rate of interest below 7% has increased from around 29% to 60%. This is because of better transmission of the monetary policy. That is absolutely correct. Lower deposit rate necessarily increase bank's profitability through higher net interest margin. नहीं सर, अगर deposit rate कम है, अगर deposit rates कम है, तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि बैंक का net interest margin ज्यादा होगा, because net interest margin is the gap between lending rate and deposit rate. अगर आपका deposit rate कम हुआ और lending rate भी कम हो गया, तो हो सकता है निम्न चेंज ही ना हो. So deposit rate is decreasing, Lending rate is also decreasing, but NIM is still the same, so that could not be true. Declining deposit rate may push households towards market-linked financial instruments. This is correct. क्योंकि अगर deposit rates कम हो रहे, then we should invest in shares rather than depositing in banks. Deposit rate adjustment is independent of policy repo rate. This is wrong. Deposit rate is linked to repo rate. That is absolutely correct. So this statement is wrong. Lower deposit rate reduces the cost of funds for the banks. Yes, अगर deposit rate कम है, so cost of deposit का मतलब bank has received the deposit in different formats. So the cost of deposit for the bank will decrease. This is true. So answer to this particular question would be, sir, A option. 1, 3 and 5 are correct. ठीक है जी. अगला question is your homework. Take the screenshot. This is the first question of the evening. Guys, quickly take the screenshot. Then I will be moving on to the next news, and we'll cover the next news in next 5-7 minutes. We'll cover the next news in next 5-7 minutes. क्योंकि next news ज़्यादा technical नहीं है. It is more of information which I will be covering in next 5-7 minutes. It's easy to go. सुनना जरा. तो next news क्या है? So there is a news related to appointment, and the appointment has been done for General Insurance Company, and this is a reinsurance company. What is reinsurance company? So reinsurance is basically a company which provide insurance services to the insurance companies. For example, I am an individual. I have got my car insured, and if anything goes wrong in the near future, my insurance company will pay the claim. My insurance company will pay the claim. So this insurance company has provided different types of insurances to different customers. So this insurance company is at risk if everything, or if the things goes wrong. If anything goes wrong at the individual's part, insurance company will be responsible to pay the insurance claim. So in order to overcome this situation, insurance companies, they get themselves insured from another insurance company, and those insurance companies which provide insurance services to the insurance companies, we call them as reinsurance companies. So reinsurance companies are the companies to which insurance companies get themselves insured against fixed premium. So now we have GIC, it is a reinsurance company. So recently new appointment has been done at the position of chairman and managing director, and the name is Hitesh Ramesh Chandra Joshi. Let's conclude this quickly. So the news says FSRB. This is very important. Who is responsible for the appointment? So appointment is done by the Appointments Committee of Cabinet, which is headed by Prime Minister. But the recommendation to this committee कि भैया किसे appoint करो किसे नहीं करो, that recommendation comes from Financial Service Institutions Bureau. I don't know how many of you have heard about Indradhanush scheme for banking sector, which talks about A to G, different initiatives. Under those A to G initiative, there was one initiative that is BBB, Bank Board Bureau. This was an organization which was set up by RBI, which was made responsible to recommend the names of the officials who can be appointed as the heads of public sector banks. But over the period of time, it was realized that Bank Board Bureau was not a statutory body. So finally, RBI revised BBB into a statutory body and renamed it as Financial Services Institutions Bureau. So it has recommended HR Joshi for the post of chairman cum managing director of the General Insurance Corporation of India. It was a recommendation that Appointments Committee of the Cabinet has given the final approval, which is chaired by none other than Prime Minister of the country. If you want, you can read the profile of Hitesh ji, but I'm not interested in his profile. I've just given you for your reference. Currently, he is the Executive Director since 9th of July 2024, holding the additional charge as Chairman and Managing Director from 1st of October 2025, and now he will be appointed as full-time. He is now appointed as the full-time Chairman and Managing Director of GIC. इसमें क्या क्या चीजें समझनी है? GIC is a reinsurance company which was established back in 1972. It is India's sole domestic reinsurer operating under Ministry of Finance. What are the functions? Sir, it provides reinsurance support to the Indian insurers, help in spread large risk, maintain financial stability, and it expand global footprint across Asia, Africa, Europe. Maybe अब इसने अपनी branches खोलनी शुरू की हैं. Strategic importance, it helps or it acts as a shock absorber for the insurance companies. It supports insurance penetration in India as well as it results in financial stability in the economy. The most important part is, what is FSIB? Sir, FSIB, that is Financial Services Institution Bureau, is replacement of Bank Board Bureau. It is a top level body responsible for recommending appointments of the senior executives in public sector banks as well as public financial institutes and even in the insurance companies. How it evolved? So earlier Bank Board Bureau was set up in 2015-16 on the recommendation of PJ Nayak Committee. PJ Nayak Committee ने इंद्रधनुष स्कीम को भी recommend किया था. So this BBB has faced legal challenges, limited mandate. Therefore, FSIB was introduced in 2022 to expand jurisdiction and strengthen the governance. Composition is, so the chairman, usually the former senior bureaucrat or banker, is the chairman. Along with that, we have the members from banking, insurance, finance, and human resource department. Human resource management department. These are the members of the same. What are the functions? If I talk about the core responsibilities, first one, recommend appointments for chairman and managing directors, executive directors. It evaluates candidates based on their experience, leadership, capability, strategic vision, integrity. It also reviews their performance as well as it checks or it looks behind the governance enhancement, where it promote professional and merit based leadership, where it obviously promote professional and merit based leadership. If I talk about the selection process, first of all, application is received, then shortlisting is done, interview is done with FSIB panel, assessment of track record is done, recommendation to appointment committee is given, and then the final approval comes from the appointment committee. So इसका ये एक प्रोसेस है. पहले एप्लीकेशन आएगी, शॉर्टलिस्ट होगा, फिर इंटरव्यू होगा, फिर आपके ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड को रिव्यू किया जाएगा, रिकमेंडेशन, एंड देन फाइनली व्हेन यू रिसीव द रिकमेंडेशन, देन द अपॉइंटमेंट इज डन. So recently the new change has been done. What will be the benefit? The significance is it will be beneficial for the company, it will be beneficial for the insurance sector, and even it will be beneficial for the entire government sector as well as the economy of the nation. So these are some of the important points which you need to remember. I hope ये सारे पॉइंट जो मैंने अभी आपके साथ डिस्कस किए, they are crystal clear. If you have any doubt till this point, you may ask please. Otherwise, we will begin the discussion. यहाँ तक अगर कोई डाउट है तो पूछ लो. If no doubt is there, then I will be discussing few MCQs on the same. If you are ready to discuss the MCQs, just give me yes sir. एक बार बता दो, so that we can quickly discuss one question and next question from the same news will be your homework. मुझे लगता है बहुत इजी न्यूज़ थी, इसमें तो क्या ही बताने लायक था या कुछ बात करने लायक था ही नहीं. I'm pretty sure it must be clear to you. चलो जी, if it is clear, let's quickly solve a question on the same. Here you go guys. Here is the question on the screen. Try to solve it. Let's see who all can give me the correct answer for the given question. मजा आ रहा है? I hope you guys are enjoying. बोला तो हरीश कि आपने अगर एनरोल किया है कोई बात नहीं, आपको कॉल आ जाएगा. आज एनरोल किया, आज कॉल थोड़ा ना आएगा भाई, थोड़ा वेट करो. Have some patience. I have already explained you this point that you will receive a call. Don't worry. Don't write the same question again and again. So the question we have on the screen is, with reference to the Financial Services Institutions Bureau, consider the following. FSIB was established in 2022 as a replacement for Banks Board Bureau to strengthen governance in the financial institution. That is correct. FSIB directly appoints chairman and managing director. No sir, it just recommends. Appointment is done by the appointments committee. FSIB gives the recommendation and final approval comes from Appointments Committee of the Cabinet. That is true. It includes members from banking sector, insurance sector, financial sector, human resource management. True. FSIB plays a very important role in performance evaluation of top management. True. So answer is going to be A option. 1, 3, 4, 5 are correct. Rest all the options are wrong. Here you go guys. This is the second question of the evening. Take the screenshot and you will be sharing the answers with me in the comment section for first and second question. Once you have taken the screenshot, give me yes sir so that we can conclude the discussion without any further delay. Okay then, that will be all. We'll catch you soon in the upcoming sessions to go. Bahut jald Manish sir will start the session on government schemes, and in near future I will be starting the session on RBI circulars as well. So don't worry, you can rely on us and it will be provided to you in the upcoming days to go. Bye bye guys, take care, good luck, God bless you all, see you soon, good luck.